Hey, this is Pamela Schneider. I'm the retail editor for Blue Book Services, and this is Greg Johnson, our director of media development. And this is the Produce Reporter Weekend Review. And Greg, we should be wrapping up PMA right now, Fresh Summit. I should be wearing avocado leggings, but it's too hot here in my office.
Well, I have my lanyard on and my avocado socks.
I got
We're
my
not
I
going to
got
make
my
it on
flare.
screen.
You were not going to talk about your flare or your
No.
lack of flare.
No, but I see that you have a pink pineapple on your shirt, and that was one
Yes.
of the biggest stories this week at First Summit.
Actually, it was one of the biggest stories that I noticed last week because I've been fishing around for news and checking out things, and I signed up for Del Monte's Pinkglow pineapple newsletter list. And it says, you want one of these? Put your name, put your email in this thing. And on Friday evening, I got an email that said, hey, it's finally available. Get one here. And I was like, oh, this is the pink pineapple. This is the genetically modified pink pineapple that people have been talking about for years. I mean, I tried to get my hands on one of them a couple of years ago when I was doing a pineapple thing, and nobody could. And guess how much they are, Greg? Just one.
I already know. And it's more than I would spend, I think.
It is $50 for one pineapple.
But that's delivered, right?
Yeah, that is delivered. It's free shipping, shipping included, complimentary shipping. And it's only available right now. You can get them, wholesale can get them, obviously, if you're a produce manager or if you're a food service person, you can get some by calling a number that Melissa's has on its listing. And then tropicalproducebox.com is the other one. There's an East Coast and a West Coast distributor. So you have to order them online, and apparently they arrive in a fantastic box. Crownless, by the way. A couple of theories about the crownlessness. Number one, the leaves get funky in transport. Number two, it's a lot more ecologically sound to do crownless pineapple. It's just Americans are used to having a crown on there. And number three, you can't take the crown and propagate one of your own. Because that's something that someone mentioned on LinkedIn, and it made me think, oh yeah, I do have a couple of pineapples growing in my backyard. And since this is a genetically modified pineapple, obviously they're not going to want to let anyone have the crown to go ahead and make their own. But
I noticed also this pineapple is not pink. It has pink flesh.
Yes. It's pink on the inside.
I've seen pictures of it online that show an actual pink pineapple, and you and I both know that's a Photoshop.
Yeah, there are a lot. If you Google pink pineapple, and I'm going to put some up here while we're talking, you will see just scores of Photoshopped pictures of what this thing looks like. When I get my hands on one of them here at my house, I will show you, and apparently it's the rage to be Instagramming your pink pineapple party or whatever you're going to do with it. I mean, if I laid down $50 for a pineapple, I would show every single person I know that I was eating a pink pineapple in my pink rosé for my Kardashian brunch. So it's pink on the inside and then more like a regular pineapple look on the outside. Maybe it's got a little bit of a hue to it, but it's not shockingly pink. It's not hot pink. It's just, I mean, I would even call it salmon on the inside if we're going to go Pantone here. But it's one of the largest stories, and actually Del Monte dropped it as their biggest news for Fresh Summit. There was other new product news. Another one that I've got to get my hands on is the Bolthouse hot dog made of carrots.
I gotta say, I can do that with any carrot I have. Put it in a hot dog bun and put a little ketchup on it.
Right. I don't think that's exactly what's going on. And actually, I was showing Ike, who's 12, the video. Actually, Bolthouse set up for their new product showcase video. They built a booth at their Bakersfield facility, and they had a grill set up and everything, and was showing everyone. They said it's 100% carrot. And I was like, really? Well, how does it stick together? But Ike's like, he kind of has this gross look on his face, like, ew, carrot hot dog. And I was like, dude, do you know what real hot dogs are made out of? I would eat 100% carrot one any day. If you put it that way.
Come on. It's made of beef and pork and
things. scraps, leftovers.
Look,
Oh, yes,
don't
what's in the
open
hot dog?
up your fast food cheeseburger before you eat it. That's the rule. Don't ask what's in the hot dog. The package says what's in it. Trust it. All right, let's do a little Fresh Summit review.
Okay.
We have to admit we are disappointed because we like Fresh Summit. We've done it every year of our careers, and it's fun to be in person with 20,000 people, which is one of the biggest conventions in the country. And it's so big that there are only a handful of cities that can hold it. So it is a major, big deal. And so it's a bummer not to be able to have it this year. And
Yeah.
so we have to have a virtual experience. And what were your thoughts on how that came through?
So after about 20 minutes of the state of the industry, and I'm not saying anything about the state of the industry, it absolutely should be like this because it's scripted. You realize this is pre-recorded, and then you go to the education session and you're like, nobody's answering any of the questions that are scrolling along in this chat box, but it says live. It was live broadcast for most of it. Some of them were actually live. When I watched the global reception, they presented the Retailer of the Year award basically, and 3 out of 4 could make it to give an acceptance speech. The 4th one could not make it, so either they couldn't pre-record it or it was actually live. But it was so, and so I was so baffled by this. Because here I see this red box that says live, that I started asking other people who had participated in the chat box. I sent them messages on the platform and I said, hey, what do you think? Did you know that's not live? And it was pre-recorded. And so many of them didn't know. So here's the other thing we just talked about. Greg, is this the first time this week that you put on your Zoom face? Yeah.
This is, yeah. Well, I've done other Zooms, but I have not done any Zooms connected with Fresh Summit. And it's weird because there were a couple things like that chat box going on the side of a general session. That's cool because you get to see, hey, I know those people in the industry. Those are the people who I would be sitting by if this was in a big auditorium. And we're asking questions, we're giving our opinions. It would have been nice for the speakers to have addressed those.
Yeah.
But they weren't live, so
yeah,
they could not.
There was an opportunity there where I think that the speakers, even if they weren't live, could have been watching the replay and answering some of these questions that were happening, and done a little more interactive. But I feel like, and I saw a couple of opportunities like the young professionals in produce had, and I'm not young enough to be one of those anymore, I guess. They had a Zoom link, and I think if you sought them out, there were opportunities to have some face-to-face time. But for the most part, the impetus was on the attendee to go out and cold call people, I guess, to interact with them. And I liked, other opportunities that we've had, even in food service delivered, of being on camera and interacting face-to-face with people, because I felt a deeper connection to the show itself.
The virtual experience has to be able to do its best to replicate the in-person experience. And part of the experience of being in person is, one, walking around an expo and looking at stuff. And two, it's running into people you know who you didn't plan to see, but you have a connection with. Whether it's business related or personal. And that's cool. And that's the cool thing about the industry, is there's so many business relationships that are also friends. And we didn't get that at this one. There was no random bumping into people and having a conversation.
No. And I did ask PMA about the live versus pre-recording, and they told me that they did it, they didn't tell me how much of it was pre-recorded and how much was live, but they did it so they could transcribe it, to have it closed captioned, and then also for translation services, and to make them available to people, for participants from across the world, because it is a global organization, so that they could have global participation in the panels. And I get that, I get it, but I also feel like there wasn't you know, if you've been to a virtual show, you've been in one of those scramble Zoom things where they like all go into one and they shake you up and send you out to a different room. And then you see people who are like, oh, I haven't seen you or you in a long time. How's it going? And did I miss it? I went to receptions, and the receptions all seem to be, you know, a performer and then canned videos and submitted photos, which is great. It's nice to see people, but I wanted to interact with people.
It's not authentic.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. And we're all doing the best we can, right?
It's a learning process, and we don't know how to replicate these. And my hope is that we don't figure out the best way to do a virtual event, because we will get back to having real in-person events.
I think the people's opinion of this, now that we've had the biggest show of the year, people are going to walk away from this, or, you know, shut their computer lid. And a week or two from now, you'll look at your ROI on how much you spent to attend versus how much business you got out of it. And then overall, how new business is doing. Were you able to get new business in this? I even went into the marketing chat, and it was pretty much people cold calling marketing stuff where we're like, hey, I work for this and we have this widget and you should buy it. No. The one thing that did work very well though, was the virtual retail tours. If you got a chance to go see those, and not a lot of people did, I don't think. Joseph Bunting from United walked us through a Market Street. A fantastic gentleman from an Australian retailer walked us through his gorgeous store. We got to see a Hema, I can't remember, Fresh Hippo, a Chinese retailer. So some of those worked out really well. And it kind of replaced what I do at trade shows. So, oops, good for them. So it was nice to see that. Overall, I feel like the industry is doing the best it can to pivot and learn. And, you know, PMA had a lot of live elements in Food Service Delivered. And I participated in one, and it was fantastic. I really enjoyed the opportunity, but it was a lot of moving parts. And that's an even smaller show than Fresh Summit is. So maybe they looked at it and said, there's too many moving parts for us to try to do this with, you know, audio dropped calls. Any parents over the last 6 or 8 months who's had a kid dealing with virtual school knows how frustrating it is when the virtual tools don't work. And then when we move it into the broader business and we're trying to attract thousands and thousands of people to interact with this, too many moving parts, perhaps. But like you said, we can only just hope that this is, you know, one of the last painful ones that we just work our way through and move on to back to in person.
At least in some capacity. I mean, some schools are figuring out we can do part-time, we can do half as full. You know, maybe hopefully in the new year, the buying organizations can look at what they're missing out and not meeting customers and visiting places face to face and get to some kind of equilibrium. Because it seems to me like there are a lot of things that we're just putting off.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like we're not conducting business now. It's we'll review that later, and you can't do that forever.
No, I mean, as it is, we're looking at, you know, spending a year of pushing things off. Because I know that there was even talk back in January and early February of people, buying organizations pulling buyers out of shows because of COVID and because of the worry about that. So as we go into the planning for January, February, March, I know Viva Fresh is already planning to have some in-person elements, but they're not going to be 100% in person. They're going to be limited attendance. So, you know, they're already the first ones out saying, this is how we're going to run it. We're waiting for Southeast Produce Council to announce what they plan to do for Southern Exposure. Registration's open for that. So one can only hope that this is our last big painful virtual show, and we can move back to being able to bump into somebody at a booth.
Yeah,
Sometimes,
and meet up with people to do our entertaining.
right? You know, I need some new golf balls.
That's golf is fine. You can socially distant. They're still doing golf tournaments in the produce industry.
For sure. I just haven't seen it
Back to normalcy.
yet. Well, that's it for the Produce Reporter Week in Review. Look forward to next week. Well, I will be dropping videos of some new product reviews, and Greg will be on vacation, so it's all Pamela all the time.
There might be some of this going on.